Evelyn Hartman sat in the back seat, phone pressed to her ear. Her voice was sharp, tired, and loud. She was arguing with her legal team about the merger. The interpreter service had failed. A billion-dollar deal was about to fall apart because no one could speak Japanese. Marcus Lee was driving. He kept a steady speed, eyes on the road, listening to everything. Evelyn hit the back of the front seat. "No, Richard, I don't care. I need someone who speaks Japanese and Mandarin right now." They land in 90 minutes. The radio was still playing quietly. Marcus reached forward to turn it down. Evelyn turned her head fast. "Don't touch my car." Marcus froze, then pulled his hand back. "You think because you drive my car you get to touch my things?" Her tone was sharp and cold. "You're the driver, not my assistant. Remember that." The car went silent. Then she kept yelling into the phone. "What do you mean all 3 services are booked? This is a billion-dollar deal, not a school project." Marcus stayed quiet. He'd heard her talk like this before. Always loud, always in control, or pretending to be. She didn't know anything about him except his name. She didn't know he'd worked for the State Department for 20 years. She didn't know he spoke 9 languages. She didn't know he had a PhD from Georgetown and a master's from Harvard. To her, he was just the man who opened her car door every morning. Evelyn's voice broke. "I don't care if it costs $50,000. Find someone now. Takeda Rao is landing early. I can't postpone." Her breathing got heavier. "Richard, if they walk, we're done. The investors will pull out. The board will bury me." Marcus looked at her in the mirror. Her hair was messy. Her hand was shaking. He could hear the fear in her voice. He also knew what she didn't. Hartman Innovations was 3 months from bankruptcy. He lowered the partition glass. "Excuse me, Miss Hartman." She glared at him. "I told you not to. What languages do you need?" She frowned. "What?" "For the meeting," Marcus said calmly. "Which languages do you need interpreted?" "Japanese, Mandarin, maybe Hindi." "Are you listening to my calls?" "I hear them." "You speak loudly," he said. "Takeda Rao is a Japan-India partnership. You'll need Japanese and Hindi. Possibly Mandarin if their engineers attend." Evelyn gave a short laugh. "You're a driver. Don't act like you know how this works." "I do," Marcus said. "You think you can speak Japanese?" "I can. Japanese, Mandarin, Hindi, Korean, Arabic, Portuguese, French, German, and Spanish." She stared at him through the mirror. "You're serious?" "Yes." Before she could respond, her phone rang again. The screen showed Takeda Rao Holdings. She froze. "I can't take this call without an interpreter." Marcus held out his hand. "May I answer it for you?" She hesitated. The phone kept ringing. Then she handed it over. Marcus pressed the button. "Moshi Moshi, Takeda-san," he said. His tone changed completely. Clear, formal, confident. The voice on the other end spoke quickly in Japanese. Marcus listened, answered, and switched to Mandarin when another person joined. Evelyn watched. He sounded professional, calm, not a single pause. After a few minutes, Marcus covered the mic. They misunderstood the draft contract. The wording made them think you see them as subordinates, not partners. Evelyn's voice was small. "Can that be fixed?" "I'm fixing it." He spoke again in Japanese, slower and polite. The tone of the other voices softened. 20 minutes later, he ended the call and handed the phone back. "They'll still meet with you. The deal isn't dead." Evelyn looked stunned. "Who are you?" Marcus parked in the underground garage under Hartman Tower. The same spot he parked in every day. He shut off the engine. "Someone who needed work 3 years ago," he said, "and someone who still believes in second chances." She didn't say anything. He looked at her through the mirror. "You should go upstairs. You got a company to save." She stared back at him. "Marcus." "Yes, ma'am. I need to know everything." "You will," he said. "But first, let's keep your company alive." He started the car again. "Let's go, Miss Hartman." Evelyn didn't speak for the rest of the drive. She just stared out the window, phone in her hand, eyes unfocused. The city kept moving, traffic lights, horns, people walking, but she didn't notice. Her mind was somewhere else. Marcus stopped the car in front of Hartman Tower. The security guard at the gate nodded like every morning. Marcus stepped out, opened the back door. Evelyn didn't move. "You should go in," he said. She blinked, looked at him for a second, then stepped out without saying anything. She walked through the glass doors into the building. Her assistant, Olivia, rushed up to her right away. Ms. Hartman, the board wants an update. They heard about the interpreter issue. Tell them it's handled, Evelyn said. Her voice was steady again, but her hands were shaking. Handled? How? Olivia asked. Evelyn paused. Just tell them it's handled. She went straight to the executive elevator, pressed the button for the 18th floor, and leaned against the wall while the doors closed. She could still hear Marcus's voice in her head. Calm, controlled, like someone used to being in charge. 9 languages. Harvard. Georgetown. What kind of driver talks like that? When the elevator doors opened, half her leadership team was already waiting. David Chun, CFO. Marcus Hendricks, COO. And Susan Walsh, head of marketing. All 3 looked tense. Evelyn, we have a problem, Hendricks said. Takeda Rao's legal office just called. They said they received mixed signals this morning. They're still on, Evelyn said. I spoke to them. You spoke to them? Walsh frowned. Without an interpreter? Evelyn nodded slowly. Someone helped. Hendricks leaned forward. Who? She didn't answer. She walked to the head of the table and opened her laptop. Let's focus on what we can control. We have 3 hours to prepare for the in-person meeting. Chun looked frustrated. Evelyn, we can't just ignore what's happening. Our liquidity line expires next month. Payroll is at risk. We can't survive another failed negotiation. I'm aware, she said flatly. That's why this deal needs to close. The room went quiet. Everyone knew what that meant. Without the merger, the company would collapse. The numbers had been bad for months, and investors were already circling like vultures. Walsh finally spoke. What about the translators from Tokyo Link? They're still not available. No, Evelyn said. All booked. It doesn't matter now. Hendricks crossed his arms. So who exactly did you use this morning? Evelyn shut her laptop. Someone who knows what he's doing. She didn't explain further. She didn't mention that this someone was sitting behind the wheel of her car 3 floors below. Marcus stayed in the car. He didn't check his phone or the news. He just sat there quietly, thinking. 3 years of silence, of being invisible. And now, this morning changed everything. His phone buzzed. A message from his daughter. Morning, Dad. Presentation today. Wish me luck. Love you. He smiled a little and typed back. You'll do great. Call me after. Then he sat back. For a few seconds, he let himself relax. But his mind went back to the conversation upstairs. Evelyn's company was close to falling apart. He'd seen that kind of pressure before, governments, corporations, people pretending they were still in control while everything underneath was burning. He thought about what she'd said in the car. I can't lose this. That sentence carried desperation. Not arrogance. Desperation. He'd worked with that tone before. It usually came right before collapse or change. Marcus checked the time. If the Takeda Rao delegation was really landing in 90 minutes, she'd need more than translators. She'd need someone who actually understood how those meetings worked. Someone who could keep her from offending the very people she needed most. He took a deep breath, stepped out of the car, and walked to the building. The front desk guard, Carlos, looked surprised. Morning, Mr. Lee. You heading up? Just for a minute, Marcus said. He took the staff elevator to the service level, swiped the badge he'd been given as a driver. He shouldn't have been able to access the upper floors, but a maintenance worker stepped out, and Marcus caught the door before it closed. The elevator rose quietly. He stopped at floor 17, the one below the executive offices. From there, he could hear voices through the thin walls. He stayed in the hallway, listening. Evelyn was speaking fast. Orders. Questions. The sound of stress. He waited until the voices died down, then walked toward the main corridor. Her assistant saw him first. Marcus? What are you doing here? I need to speak with Ms. Hartman, he said. She's in a meeting. I know. It's important. The assistant hesitated. Then she nodded toward the conference room. 5 minutes. That's all you'll get. Evelyn was standing near the window, hands on her hips. She looked over and froze when she saw him. What are you doing up here? I thought you might need help again. She looked around the room. Her executives were watching. This isn't the time. Actually, it is, Marcus said. You're about to face Takeda Rao. If you go in blind, you'll lose them. Hendricks cut in. Who is this? Evelyn hesitated, then said quietly, my driver. Hendricks frowned. Your driver is giving negotiation advice now. Marcus looked straight at him. I'm not giving advice. I'm telling you what's coming. Takeda expects formality, hierarchy, and respect. Rao expects directness and punctuality. If you treat them the same way, you'll offend both. The room went silent. Chin spoke carefully. How do you know that? Marcus looked at him. Because I've negotiated with them before. Different names, same people. Patterns don't change. Evelyn's expression shifted slightly. Half disbelief, half curiosity. You're saying you've dealt with Takeda Rao before? Not them exactly. But I led trade talks between the US, Japan, and India in 2019. I know their corporate etiquette. No one spoke for several seconds. Then Walsh whispered, Who are you? Marcus turned to Evelyn. Someone who wants to see this company survive. He placed a folded sheet of paper on the table. Here's what you say when you greet them. Simple phrases. Japanese first, then English. It'll buy you goodwill. Evelyn looked down at the paper. The handwriting was neat, precise. Where did you even learn this? She asked. He didn't answer that. Use it, he said. It'll make a difference. Then he turned and walked out before anyone could stop him. When the door closed, no one spoke for a long time. Hendricks finally said, What the hell was that? Evelyn looked at the paper again. Then she folded it, slid it into her folder, and said quietly, Maybe the person who just saved our deal. Evelyn walked out of the meeting room 10 minutes later. She didn't say a word to anyone. She just held that piece of paper in her hand. The handwriting was small and clean. The Japanese phrases were written with English notes under them. Nothing fancy, just what to say, how to bow, and when to stop talking. She took the private elevator down to the parking level. Marcus was standing next to the car, waiting like nothing had happened. Get in, she said. He opened the back door for her. She didn't get in. Front seat, she said instead. He looked at her for a second, then walked around and sat in the passenger seat. Evelyn leaned against the car. I don't like surprises, she said. I figured. What you did this morning wasn't normal. Drivers don't just start speaking 9 languages and save billion-dollar deals. I wasn't always a driver. I can tell. She folded her arms. So let's start there. Who are you really? Marcus looked straight ahead, not at her. Marcus Lee, born in Baltimore. PhD in International Relations, Georgetown University. Master's in Applied Linguistics, Harvard. Evelyn frowned. And you ended up driving for me? Yes. Ow. He shrugged slightly. State Department cutbacks. 3 years ago, my division was dissolved. I had 2 weeks to find work. What division? Translation and negotiation support. We handled trade talks, treaties, crisis communications. I worked with the diplomatic corps for 22 years. Evelyn blinked. You were a federal employee? Senior translator. I worked in Tokyo, Beijing, Geneva, and D.C. She stared at him. You expect me to believe that? I don't expect anything, Marcus said. You asked. I'm answering. She kept watching him. You have proof. He opened his phone, scrolled, and handed it to her. Photos, diplomatic receptions, official seals, a younger version of him standing behind U.S. presidents and foreign ministers. Evelyn zoomed in. He wasn't bluffing. You could have worked anywhere, she said. I tried. Applied to 300 jobs. Overqualified for some, too old for others. Then my mother got sick. Cancer treatment costs didn't wait for a job offer. Evelyn went quiet. I needed money fast, Marcus continued. Driving paid weekly. That was enough. She looked down. You've been here 3 years. And you never said a word. I wasn't hired to talk. Evelyn rubbed her forehead. You knew what was happening with this company all along, didn't you? I've heard your calls for 36 months. I know every supplier issue, every investor you try to keep, every panic about payroll. Her voice lowered. Then why didn't you ever say something? He gave a small laugh. Would you have listened? She didn't answer. The silence said enough. He turned to her. You run a company full of people with opinions. I was the one person who wasn't allowed to have one. Evelyn leaned back against the car. So what changed today? You were about to lose everything. I figured pride was a small price to pay for honesty. She looked down at his phone again. Those people in the photos, you worked with them? Yes. Trade agreements, summits, emergency diplomacy. Nothing glamorous, just long hours and long flights. Then it just ended. Budget Reconciliation Act, 2022. 20% staff reduction. Last hired, first fired. I was number 21 on the list. Evelyn exhaled slowly. Jesus. Yeah. She crossed her arms tighter. Why didn't you go to a private firm? I did. Consulting firms said I was overqualified. Universities said I was too expensive. Corporations didn't know what to do with a 50-year-old linguist. So you started driving. I started surviving. They stood there in the half-lit garage. The hum of ventilation filled the silence. Evelyn spoke again, softer this time. And you still believed in second chances? Yes. For yourself? For anyone, Marcus said. Even people who yell at drivers. That hit her harder than he meant it to. Evelyn ran a hand through her hair. What's your daughter's name? You mentioned her this morning. Leah. Second year of medical school. Pediatric oncology. She wants to treat kids with cancer because she watched her grandmother go through it. She knows you're driving? No. She thinks I took a sabbatical to write a book. Evelyn looked down, feeling something heavy she didn't want to name. Marcus, He cut her off gently. Don't apologize. Not yet. She nodded once. Okay. He straightened his jacket. You have a meeting in less than 2 hours. If you want to save this company, I can help. If you don't want my help, I'll go back to the car. Evelyn looked at him carefully. What would helping mean? Preparing you for how they think, what they expect, what not to say. You already offended them once. We can't risk a second. And you do that for me. For everyone who works here, Marcus said. 200 people losing their jobs doesn't fix anything. She nodded slowly. All right, you're in. But from now on, you're not my driver. He looked at her. Then what am I? She hesitated. I don't know yet. But whatever you are, you're coming upstairs. Marcus gave a small nod. Then let's get to work. They walked toward the elevator together. The security guard watched them go. The CEO and her driver side by side for the first time. Inside the elevator, no one spoke. Evelyn pressed the button for the top floor. As the doors closed, she said quietly, You said pride was a small price to pay. I think I'm starting to understand that. Marcus didn't answer. He just stood there, calm and silent, as the elevator rose. Evelyn led Marcus through the executive floor. People stared. No one said anything, but the look said enough. The driver wasn't supposed to be up here. They entered her office. She shut the door and motioned toward a chair. Marcus didn't sit. You can sit down, she said. I'll stand, he replied. Fine. She opened her laptop, but didn't touch it. If you work for the State Department, you've probably seen worse rooms than this. Rooms are all the same. People aren't. She nodded slightly. You said you were with the department for 22 years. Where exactly? Tokyo from 1998 to 2003. Beijing after that. Then Geneva for trade and climate talks. Back to D.C. after 2010. I stayed until 2022. Evelyn leaned forward. And they just let you go? Budget cuts. Reorganization. I was part of a language division that didn't fit the new structure. That's it. That's it. She sat back. You said you translated for presidents. 3 of them. 2 Democrats, 1 Republican. Trade summits, private negotiations, classified briefings. Evelyn shook her head. And now you drive a car. He looked at her evenly. I drive because I needed to pay my mother's hospital bills and my daughter's tuition. Pride doesn't cover chemotherapy. She didn't respond. I sold my house, Marcus continued. Moved into a small apartment near the south side. Took the first job that would pay me weekly. You were hiring a driver through a staffing agency. I took it. Evelyn folded her arms. You passed the background check? Yes. Clean record. You just didn't read the education section. I probably didn't. There was no bitterness in his voice, no anger. Just facts. Why didn't you leave once things got stable? She asked. He shrugged. At first, I thought it would be temporary. Then I realized being invisible had its uses. I could observe without being noticed. Observe what? People. How they talk to each other. How they treat those they think don't matter. Evelyn looked down for a moment. Meaning me. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. The room went quiet again. Finally, she said, you've been hearing my calls for 3 years. You probably know more about my company than most of my executives. I do, Marcus said. I know when the board started doubting you. I know when the investors want to push you out. I know when payroll barely cleared. I also know you kept it running anyway. Her eyes lifted slightly. You listened to all that? Yes. And not because I was spying. Because it was there. Because I was sitting 10 feet away. Evelyn nodded slowly. You must think I'm horrible. I think you were under pressure, he said. And pressure doesn't always bring out the best in people. She didn't argue. After a pause, Marcus added, for what it's worth, I've heard worse from people with much more power. Not much of compliment. It's not meant to be. It's just true. Evelyn turned her chair toward the window. The city's skyline reflected on the glass. If you were me, what would you do right now? Fix what's in front of you first, Marcus said. The Takeda Rao deal. If that fails, nothing else matters. And you think you can save it? I already did once this morning. She gave a short breath, half a laugh. Fair point. He looked at her desk. Papers, reports, schedules. All chaos. You're trying to control everything yourself. That's why it's slipping. You sound like you've done this before. I have. Nations fall apart the same way companies do. Everyone talks. No one listens. Then someone loses everything. Evelyn picked up a pen, rolled it between her fingers. What would you need to help me fix this? Authority to act. Freedom to speak. Access to your files on Takeda Rao. That's a lot to give a driver. I'm not your driver anymore. You said so. She thought for a moment. All right, you'll get what you need. But if this goes wrong, it's on both of us. Understood. Evelyn looked at the clock. Their flight lands in 40 minutes. We have less than 2 hours before the first meeting. Then we should start now, Marcus said. He moved to her desk, rearranged the files into neat stacks. Do you know the difference between a Japanese contract discussion and an Indian one? No. Then that's lesson 1. Japanese partners value formality and patience. Indian partners respect speed and precision. You have to balance both, or you'll offend both sides. She took notes as he spoke. Anything else? Yes. The way you open the meeting. You'll start by acknowledging Takeda's family history and Rao's modern innovation. It's about respect and progress in the same breath. Evelyn nodded, writing fast. Where did you learn all this? Years of watching people fail, Marcus said. The clock ticked loudly in the background. When he finished, he looked up. You have one chance to get this right. If they feel disrespected, they'll walk. Evelyn closed her notebook. Then I'll do what you say. Marcus adjusted his tie. Then we'll save your company. As he turned to leave, she called after him. Marcus. He stopped. Thank you. He nodded once. You're welcome. The boardroom on the 18th floor was full when Evelyn walked in. She looked calm, but she hadn't stopped thinking about what Marcus had told her. Everyone at the table turned to face her. Some looked curious, others impatient. Marcus followed a few steps behind. The room went quiet when he entered. No one expected to see the company driver in a meeting. Hendricks, the COO, was the first to speak. Evelyn, what is this? This is Marcus Lee, she said. He'll be assisting with the Takeda Rao meeting. Assisting, Hendricks said. In what capacity? Security? No, she said. Interpreter and cultural consultant. There was a short, awkward pause. David Chun, the CFO, raised an eyebrow. Are you serious? Yes, Evelyn said. Very. Walsh, the marketing head, gave a small laugh. With all due respect, Evelyn, this isn't the time for experiments. We're hours away from a billion-dollar deal. Marcus spoke up before Evelyn could answer. You're right. That's why there's no time for another mistake. Every head turned toward him. What do you know about it? Hendricks asked. Marcus looked at him steadily. Enough to know you lost this deal twice already without even realizing it. Excuse me. First, your legal team used language that offended them. Second, your scheduling email put the Japanese delegates below the Indian ones on the contact list. That broke hierarchy. The room went silent. Chun frowned. How do you know that? I reviewed the correspondence this morning while I was fixing the call, Marcus said. If you open the thread, you'll see it. Evelyn opened her laptop and scrolled. He's right, she said quietly. It's there. Walsh leaned forward. You shouldn't have access to those emails. I didn't hack anything, Marcus said. You copied the file names in your messages while on speakerphone. It wasn't hard to connect the dots. Hendricks crossed his arms. So now the driver's an investigator? Marcus ignored the tone. I spent 2 decades negotiating between governments. I've seen entire economies collapse over smaller details than these. You can mock me, or you can let me help you. No one spoke for a long moment. Evelyn broke the silence. He's right. We don't have time for pride. We need results. Chun looked from her to Marcus. You're trusting him with this? I'm trusting facts, she said. And the fact is, he saved this deal once already. Walsh shook her head. It's not about trust. It's about image. We're about to meet international executives. You can't walk in there with a man in a driver's uniform sitting beside you. Marcus said evenly, then I'll change. No one replied. Evelyn finally said, get him a suit from the executive store downstairs. Navy blue. Conservative tie. The assistant standing by the door hesitated. Are you sure? Yes. Go. When the door closed, Evelyn turned back to the room. Listen carefully. This company has been running on panic for too long. Marcus understands what we're walking into better than anyone here. Until this meeting is over, you follow his lead. Hendricks looked offended. You're putting the driver in charge? I'm putting the person who can save the company in charge, she said. No one said anything after that. Marcus stood in front of the mirror in the executive lounge 20 minutes later. The suit fit perfectly. Simple, clean, professional. He looked at himself for a moment, then straightened his tie. He'd worn better suits in better rooms, but that wasn't the point. This one meant something different. Not power, just purpose. We stepped back into the boardroom. Everyone looked at him again. This time, the silence was different. No smirks, no disbelief, just quiet attention. Evelyn gave a small nod. Better. Marcus placed a printed sheet on the table. Here's the seating chart for the meeting. Takeda gets the position of honor on the right. Rao sits opposite, closer to the documents. The rest follow by seniority, not company size. Chun leaned over the chart. How do you know all that? I wrote the protocol manual for this exact structure 5 years ago, Marcus said simply. No one argued. Evelyn asked, what about greetings? Formal Japanese bow first, Marcus said. Then a Western handshake for Rao. Keep both short. Too deep or too long looks desperate. Walsh scribbled notes. And after that, you let me handle translation. You speak slowly, look at each of them equally. Never talk over me. Never interrupt their translator. That's how you show respect. Evelyn nodded. Understood. Marcus looked around the table. One more thing. During the break, don't cluster together. Approach them separately. Build personal contact. It matters more than any number on a spreadsheet. Hendricks muttered under his breath. Unbelievable. Marcus turned to him. If you can't handle that, don't be in the room. Evelyn said quietly. Enough, Marcus. Let's keep moving. He nodded. Fine. They continued going over the details for another 30 minutes. By the time they were done, the tension had started to shift. The executives weren't relaxed, but they were listening. When the meeting broke up, Evelyn stopped Marcus at the door. You handled that well, she said. Professionals respond to confidence. Marcus said. You showed it. She glanced at the clock. They'll be here in 40 minutes. Then let's go make sure we're ready, he said. They left the room together. Employees in the hallway turned their heads as they passed. The CEO and the driver walking side by side, both focused, both silent. At the elevator, Evelyn said, You know they still don't trust this. I know, Marcus said, but they will after today. The elevator doors opened. He stepped inside first and held it for her. Evelyn followed. And what if we fail? Then you'll at least fail with the truth in the room, he said. The doors closed. Neither said another word. The Takeda Rao advance team left the office just after 6 p.m. The first meeting had gone better than anyone expected. They agreed to return the next morning with their full delegation. When the elevator doors closed behind them, the room finally exhaled. Evelyn turned to Marcus. That was close. He nodded once. You kept control. That's what they noticed. She sat down, rubbing her forehead. I don't even know what half of that meeting was about. You don't need to, he said. You just needed them to believe you respected the process. You did. Did we actually fix anything today? We bought time. That's the first step. Outside, the office lights were shutting off floor by floor. Most of the staff had gone home. Only the executive floor stayed lit. Evelyn looked around the empty space. We have less than 12 hours before the final negotiation. What do we do now? Prepare, Marcus said. Completely. He picked up the notepad she had left on the table and drew 2 columns. Takeda values legacy, hierarchy, patience. Rao values innovation, equality, results. You need to speak to both sides at once. Ow! You start the meeting by acknowledging Takeda's family history. Then you link it to Rao's technological progress. Past and future. Respect and growth. Evelyn listened, writing every word down. And gifts? They asked about that, didn't they? Yes. They expect them. Not expensive ones. Thoughtful ones. He flipped to a new page. For Takeda, a small lacquer box with your initials and theirs together. Symbol of unity. For Rao, a signed first edition engineering textbook from her university. You can find one online if you act fast. Evelyn turned to her assistant. Order both. Overnight delivery. I don't care about the price. Marcus continued. We also need to fix your contracts. The wording still sounds one-sided. It'll offend them again. She reached for her phone. I'll call legal. No, he said. Let me talk to them. You'll waste time explaining what they won't understand. Evelyn looked at him. You're sure? Yes. She hesitated, then handed him the office line. Go ahead. Marcus dialed. Legal department, this is Lee, he said. We need revisions on the Takeda Rao draft. Remove all phrases that say ownership or control. Replace them with shared management and mutual oversight. Yes, right now. Email it to Ms. Hartman before midnight. He hung up. Done. Evelyn stared at him. You just ordered the legal team around like they work for you. For the next 12 hours, they do. She didn't argue. It was past 8 when most of the other executives left. Marcus stayed. He went through cultural profiles, news archives, and company records on his tablet. Every few minutes he made notes on paper. Short, clear, color-coded. Evelyn came back from another call. Still here. Almost finished. She looked at the papers spread across the table. Each section was labeled by country, language, or business protocol. Nothing was random. You made all this tonight? Yes. I like order. You've done this hundreds of times, haven't you? He didn't look up. Enough to know preparation decides who wins. Evelyn sat down across from him. You know, I've had consultants, advisors, strategy teams. None of them worked like this. Because they're paid to look busy, Marcus said. I'm not. For the first time that day, Evelyn smiled a little. You really don't care who you're talking to, do you? I care about results. She leaned back. What happens if this doesn't work? Then I'll find another company to fix. You'll find another investor. Life goes on. You make it sound simple. It usually is. At 8:30 p.m., Evelyn's phone rang again. She checked the screen and frowned. Mumbai office. Not good timing. She answered anyway. What now? She said into the phone. Her expression changed fast. Wait, what do you mean security breach? She listened, pacing. You're telling me someone tried to copy our AI code? Marcus looked up immediately. Put on speaker. Evelyn did. A man on the line was panicking in Hindi-accented English, trying to explain. Marcus raised a hand. May I? Evelyn nodded and passed the phone. Marcus switched languages instantly. Namaste, Kumarji. Marcus bol raha hun. Han, main samaj da hun. His tone was calm, direct. He listened, asked 2 short questions, gave 3 short answers, and ended the call 5 minutes later. Evelyn waited. Well, it's handled, he said. A competitor tried to access the server. Your regional director blocked them, but didn't know how to file the legal notice. I told him what to do. Evelyn blinked. That fast? Yes. You might want to thank him tomorrow. He saved your data. She sat down again. You're not real. I'm very real. Just not where you expected me to be. Evelyn looked at the floor. All these years you've been driving me, listening to my calls, watching me panic. And you could have fixed half of it? Yes. Why didn't you? Because you didn't ask. She didn't have an answer to that. They worked in silence for another hour. Marcus finalized his notes, then handed her a folder. Everything you need to know about the people across that table tomorrow. Their habits, the words they respect, the ones they hate. Read it twice before you sleep. Evelyn flipped through the pages. You really did your homework. I always do. It was almost 10 when he started gathering his things. She watched him, then said quietly, "You could have done any job. Why this?" "I needed a paycheck. Driving was available. I don't complain about what keeps the lights on." Evelyn nodded. "Your daughter must be proud of you. She thinks I'm writing a book. Maybe now I actually will." He put the last file in his bag. "Get some rest, Miss Hartman. Tomorrow decides everything." "Marcus." He stopped. "Thank you. Again." He gave a small nod. "Good night." When he left, Evelyn stayed in the conference room a while longer. The papers were still on the table, perfectly arranged. She looked at the top page, negotiation sequence, Takeda Rao Holdings. In a margin, in small handwriting, he had written one sentence: "Preparation prevents humiliation." She read it 3 times before turning off the light. Evelyn didn't sleep that night. She sat on the couch in her office with the lamp on, and the binder Marcus gave her open on her lap. Every page was full of details: names, years, preferences, cultural notes, even small habits. She'd never seen preparation like this. No fluff, no strategy jargon, just facts. At 5:30 a.m., she gave up on trying to rest. She made coffee, changed into a navy suit, and opened her laptop. Curiosity got the better of her. She typed Marcus Lee, State Department, in a search bar. It didn't take long. There were photos, reports, transcripts of old briefings. He had been there, standing behind presidents, mediating trade disputes, leading translator teams during major summits. His name appeared in congressional testimony as an expert witness on international communication policy. Evelyn sat back. He wasn't lying, she said quietly to herself. At 6 o'clock, she called her assistant. "Olivia, get here early. We have to brief the board before 9. By 7:30, the executive floor was awake. Coffee cups, printers, people moving fast. The board was already waiting when Evelyn walked into the main conference room. She placed her laptop on the table and turned on the screen. "Before we meet the Takeda Rao team, there's something I need to address." Hendricks frowned. "We don't have time for side topics." "You'll want to hear this," she said. She typed Marcus's name into the search bar and hit enter. The images filled the screen. Marcus at the G7 summit. Marcus translating at the UN. Marcus in meetings with international heads of state. "This is the man some of you mocked yesterday," she said. "He's not a chauffeur. He's one of the most accomplished diplomatic translators this country has produced." The room was silent. Chun leaned forward. "That's him." "Yes," Evelyn said. "PhD, Georgetown. Master's Harvard. 22 years in international service. Lost his position during the 2022 budget cuts." Walsh whispered. "You're telling us the driver in the garage is that guy?" "That's exactly what I'm telling you." Hendricks shifted uncomfortably. "All right, impressive, resume. But what does that change?" Evelyn looked at him. "Everything. Because he's the reason Takeda Rao didn't walk away yesterday. And he's leading this meeting today." Hendricks started to speak, but she cut him off. "I'm not asking for permission. I'm telling you how it's going to be." She closed the laptop. "He'll be here in 5 minutes. I suggest you treat him like the professional he is." Marcus arrived right on time. He was wearing the same navy suit as last night, cleanly pressed. When he walked in, the room quieted again. Evelyn gestured to the seat next to her. "Morning, Mr. Lee." "Morning," he said simply. Chun cleared his throat. "Mr. Lee, we've reviewed your background." "Quite a surprise." "I'm sure," Marcus replied. Walsh tried to smooth the tension. "We, just want to make sure the delegation today sees us as prepared." "They will," Marcus said, "as long as we stick to the plan." He opened his notes. "Final reminders. You bow first to Takeda, handshake second to Rao. Speak slowly, let me translate. When they talk, don't interrupt. When they pause, wait for me to signal." Evelyn nodded. "Understood." Marcus continued. "During introductions, use the titles exactly as listed here. And one more thing, there will be a moment when they test you. It's cultural. They'll bring up something unrelated, like weather or sports. Don't rush back to business. Follow their lead." "Why?" Hendricks asked. "Because they're testing patience. They want to see if you can think long-term." He looked around the table. Everyone clear? No one argued. Evelyn, check her watch. "They'll arrive in 20 minutes. Marcus, anything else?" "Yes. You might want to decide who you are after this meeting. because the person who walks out of that room won't be the same one who walked in. She gave a half smile. Let's hope that's a good thing. It will be, if we do it right, he said. The next half hour passed fast. Security called to confirm the motorcade was approaching. The entire floor went silent. Every eye turned to the glass doors of the main conference room. The elevator bell rang. The delegation stepped out. 3 Japanese executives in dark suits and 1 Indian executive, Ms. Rao, with a tablet in hand. Their translator followed behind. Evelyn stepped forward. Her hands didn't shake this time. Welcome to Hartman Innovations, she said, bowing slightly. Marcus gave a small nod behind her. Depth correct, timing perfect. Mr. Takeda smiled. Ms. Rao returned the gesture. They moved to the table. Marcus took his place at Evelyn's side. He switched between Japanese, English, and Hindi as if it were one language. The rhythm of the meeting stayed steady. When small misunderstandings came up, he fixed them instantly, never drawing attention to himself. For 2 hours, it worked. Every time tension rose, Marcus stepped in with the right phrase, the right tone. At one point, Ms. Rao asked a technical question about intellectual property. Marcus translated it exactly. Evelyn answered carefully, repeating Marcus's suggested phrasing about mutual stewardship. The Japanese executives nodded. No one looked offended. The meeting ended with handshakes and polite smiles. When the delegation left, Evelyn finally exhaled. That was something. You passed the test, Marcus said. They'll be back at 10 tomorrow morning for final signatures. She looked at him. You just made me look like I actually know what I'm doing. He smiled slightly. That's the job. Evelyn leaned against the wall. I can't believe you've been sitting 10 feet behind me for 3 years while I've been falling apart in front of you. I wasn't behind you, Marcus said. I was waiting for you to look up. She went quiet. He straightened his tie. You have 12 hours to rest before tomorrow. Don't waste them. I'll try, she said. As he turned to leave, Evelyn stopped him. Marcus. He looked back. Tomorrow, when this is over, we're going to talk about what comes next. He nodded. Fair enough. The elevator doors opened, and Marcus stepped in. The doors closed quietly behind him. Evelyn stood alone in the hallway, still holding the binder he'd given her. For the first time in years, she didn't feel alone at the top. At 8 a.m., the executive floor felt like a command center. Coffee cups, laptops, people talking quietly but fast. The second day of the Takeda negotiation was about to begin, and everyone knew what was at stake. Evelyn stood at the head of the long conference table, reviewing her notes. She looked calmer than she felt. Marcus stood beside her, flipping through a folder full of printed pages. You slept, he asked. 2 hours, she said. Enough. She checked her reflection in the glass wall. I don't look tired. You look prepared, Marcus said. The door opened. Hendricks, Chun, and Walsh came in together. They had the same stiff expressions as yesterday, but no one challenged her this time. Evelyn looked up. Everyone ready? Chun nodded. Contracts updated. Legal fixed the wording exactly how you wanted. Good, Marcus said. No aggressive phrasing. Keep everything balanced. Walsh spoke quietly. Marcus, about that cultural thing you mentioned yesterday. The test. They'll do it again, he said. Probably something small. Maybe even a comment that sounds rude. Don't react. They're checking for self-control. Walsh nodded. Got it. At 9:45, the reception desk called. Delegation is in the lobby. Evelyn straightened her jacket. Showtime. The delegation arrived right on schedule. Mr. Takeda led, Ms. Rao close behind. Both looked serious but polite. Marcus met them at the door, bowed correctly, and welcomed them in Japanese and Hindi. Inside the conference room, everyone took their seats exactly as Marcus had planned. No confusion this time. No awkward silences. The first hour went smoothly. Contract clauses, revenue models, partnership terms, each point translated precisely. Marcus handled 3 languages without missing a beat. Every time someone spoke out of turn, he raised a hand slightly to keep order. It worked. Then the pressure came. Mr. Takeda paused mid-discussion and said something in Japanese that made his aides exchange glances. Evelyn turned to Marcus. What did he say? Marcus replied quietly. He wants to know why you think your company deserves to be his partner. Evelyn froze. That wasn't in the agenda. It's not supposed to be, Marcus said. It's a test. He wants sincerity, not numbers. Evelyn took a slow breath. All right, translate for me. Marcus nodded. Evelyn spoke clearly. Tell him I don't think we deserve anything. But I believe we've earned a second look. My company almost failed because I stopped listening. I won't make that mistake again. Marcus translated word for word. The room was silent. Then Takeda smiled faintly. The tension broke. Ms. Rao added, That's a fair answer. The discussion moved on. Marcus caught Evelyn's eye, a small nod of approval. By noon, they reached the final stage, signing terms. Everyone stood. Documents were placed neatly on the table. Takeda said something in Japanese again, softer this time. Marcus listened, then smiled slightly. He wants to offer a traditional exchange, a symbolic gesture before signing. Evelyn nodded. All right. Takeda reached into his briefcase and pulled out a small wooden box wrapped in silk. He placed it on the table in front of her. A token of partnership, Marcus translated. Evelyn looked surprised. I didn't prepare anything that personal. Marcus whispered. You did. The lacquer box. She blinked. Right. She took the small black and gold box from her assistant and handed it across the table with both hands. For you, Mr. Takeda, a small gift from our team. Takeda accepted it with both hands, nodding deeply. Mutual respect. Marcus translated. When Ms. Rao's turn came, Evelyn presented the signed engineering textbook. Rao's eyes widened slightly. Then she smiled, a real one this time. Where did you find this? She asked. Someone did the research, Evelyn said, glancing at Marcus. Rao nodded. Very thoughtful. The signatures were done minutes later. Applause filled the room. Short, polite, relieved. Mr. Takeda stood. This partnership will last many years, Marcus translated. Ms. Rao extended her hand. To the future, she said. Evelyn shook it firmly. To the future. When the delegation left, the room went quiet again. Evelyn sat down slowly. Did that just happen? It did, Marcus said. Hendricks laughed, shaking his head. I don't believe it. We actually pulled it off. Shin closed his laptop. Marcus, I owe you one. Maybe several. Walsh turned to Evelyn. So what now? Celebration? Evelyn looked at Marcus. You tell me. He smiled faintly. Not yet. Wait for their official confirmation from Tokyo and Mumbai. Then you can open the champagne. She nodded. You're probably right. As the others left, she stayed behind with Marcus. The room was half empty now, papers scattered, coffee cups abandoned. Evelyn looked at him. You just saved this company. No, he said. You did. You let someone help you. She gave a short laugh. You don't even realize how much that sentence stings. It's supposed to, Marcus said. That's how people grow. Evelyn looked at him carefully. Marcus, I'm promoting you. Effective immediately. You're not going back to that garage. I didn't plan to, he said calmly. She smiled. Good. He turned toward the door. You should call your investors. They'll want to hear it from you. She picked up her phone. I will. Marcus started to leave, then stopped. Ms. Hartman. Yeah. Don't forget the people downstairs. They've been worrying about layoffs for weeks. Evelyn nodded. I'll tell them first. He gave a small smile. That's leadership. When he left, she stood by the window, phone to her ear, watching the city. Yes, she said into the receiver. The deal's done. We're safe. Her voice didn't sound like the woman who panicked 2 days ago. It sounded steady. By the next morning, the news had already spread across the company. Hartman Innovations secures $1.2 billion merger with Takeda Rao Holdings. It was everywhere, business sites, emails, LinkedIn posts. When Evelyn walked in the lobby, the front desk clapped. Someone shouted, We're still employed, and everyone laughed. She smiled for the first time in weeks. Get back to work, she said, but she didn't hide her grin. Upstairs, the executive floor was buzzing. Hendricks was already talking to investors. Walsh was setting up a media statement. Shin was going over projections again. Everything felt alive. Marcus came in quietly, holding a stack of papers. He wasn't wearing his suit jacket, just a white shirt, sleeves rolled up. Evelyn saw him through the glass wall. Come in, she said. He stepped inside. You've been busy. So have you, she said. You already wrote the post-merger communication plan? Half of it. The rest depends on your message to staff. I'll handle that at noon. She paused. I meant what I said yesterday. You're not going back to driving. I assume. You're staying here as my director of international relations. He didn't react right away. Director? For now, she said. Title will change later once we reorganize the division. Marcus nodded. Fair enough. She leaned on her desk. I looked you up last night. I figured. You were everywhere. Summits, UN conferences, trade negotiations. I saw the photo from the 2018 U.S.-China trade talks. You were standing behind the Secretary of State. Long time ago. You saved that deal too, didn't you? I just translated. Evelyn smiled slightly. You have a habit of downplaying miracles. He said nothing. After a few seconds, she asked, What are you thinking right now? That I should probably call my daughter. You haven't yet? Not yet. I wanted to wait until everything was official. Evelyn nodded. You should call her today. Tell her the truth. He hesitated. She thinks I'm on a writing sabbatical. I'd have to explain a lot. She'll understand, Evelyn said. You've earned the right to be proud again. Marcus looked out the window. Maybe, but pride doesn't come easy after years of pretending. Evelyn didn't answer. After a moment, she said quietly, You know, you change how I look at people. He looked back at her. That's good. I mean it. I used to see the job title first, person second. I was wrong. Marcus nodded. That's how most of the world works. Until something forces them to look closer. Evelyn folded her arms. You were that something. He gave a faint smile. Then it was worth the drive. The intercom buzzed. Evelyn's assistant said, Press is here. Ms. Hartman. Tell them to wait 10 minutes, she replied. Then to Marcus, You'll be with me during the announcement. He frowned. That's not necessary. It is. People deserve to see who actually saved their jobs. He sighed. Fine. At noon, the whole company gathered in the cafeteria. Cameras, microphones, coffee cups everywhere. Evelyn stepped up to the small stage. Marcus stood to the side, hands behind his back. She spoke clearly. Yesterday, we closed the Takeda Rao partnership. It secures our future and every one of your jobs. But that's not the full story. The crowd quieted. She pointed toward Marcus. This man standing next to me isn't just our driver. His name is Marcus Lee. He's a former State Department translator, fluent in 9 languages, and the reason this company still exists. The employees looked at each other, confused at first, then surprised. Applause started, small at first, then loud. Marcus looked uncomfortable. Evelyn gestured for him to step forward. Say something, she whispered. He shook his head, but the crowd was waiting. He stepped up to the mic. I'm not much of a speaker, he said. But I'll say this. Sometimes the person holding the door for you could teach you how to run your business. Sometimes the talent you need is right in front of you, just invisible. He paused. All I did was listen for 3 years. Yesterday, someone finally listened back. The room went silent. Then people started clapping again. Evelyn leaned toward him. You're getting good at this. He smiled slightly. I've had practice with diplomats. After the event, people came up to shake his hand. Engineers, accountants, receptionists. Some looked embarrassed. Others just wanted to thank him. Later that day, Evelyn found him in his new office. It was smaller than hers, but had a view of the skyline. His old driver's cap sat on the shelf next to his diploma. She knocked on the doorframe. How's it feel? Strange, he said. Nice, but strange. Get used to it. He smiled. Trying. She stepped closer. You did something big here, Marcus. Not just for the company, for how people see each other. He looked around the room. Let's see if it lasts. It will, she said. I'll make sure of it. He believed her. Outside, the afternoon light filled the office. The skyline looked steady again, like the world had finally stopped shaking. Marcus closed the office door behind him. It was the first quiet moment he'd had in days. The desk was still mostly empty. A laptop, a notepad, a framed photo of his daughter Leah from her college graduation. He sat down and stared at the picture for a while before reaching for his phone. He hesitated a few seconds, then dialed. Dad! Leah's voice came through, surprised and cheerful. You're calling early. Everything okay? He smiled faintly. Everything's fine, sweetheart. Better than fine, actually. That's new. You sound different. I probably am, Marcus said. You have a few minutes? Of course. What's going on? He leaned back in his chair. Remember how I told you I was taking a break from work? Writing a book? Yeah, Leah said. You've been writing that book for 3 years. Marcus exhaled. I lied. There was a short pause. What do you mean? I wasn't writing. I was driving cars. I took a job as a company driver after I lost my position at the State Department. The line went silent. Driving, she said slowly. Like for who? A business executive. A woman named Evelyn Hartman. Leah didn't speak for a few seconds. You, Dad, why didn't you tell me? I didn't want you to worry, Marcus said. You were starting med school. I didn't want you thinking your tuition was coming from tips and overtime. Was it? Yes, he said plainly. But that's not why I'm calling. Things changed. Changed how? Marcus looked out the window. The company I worked for was going under. Yesterday, we closed a deal worth over $1 billion. I helped negotiate it. Leah laughed in disbelief. Wait, what? You helped? As a driver? As a translator. 9 languages, same ones I used at the department. Turns out they needed me more than they thought. Wow, Leah said quietly. That's huge. It is. They promoted me this morning. I'm now Director of International Relations. She gasped. Dad, are you serious? Completely. Does this mean you're done driving? She asked. Completely, he said, smiling. Leah laughed again. That's incredible. I'm proud of you. Thanks. I just wanted you to know the truth. I wasn't proud of hiding it, but I had my reasons. I get it, Leah said softly. You've always done what you had to do. I wouldn't have cared if you were driving trucks or translating treaties. You're still you. He felt a weight lift from his chest. You sound like your grandmother. I'll take that as a compliment. She'd be proud of you too. How's school going? Hard, Leah said. But I made the rotation program for pediatric oncology next semester. Marcus smiled. That's my girl. They talked a few minutes longer about her studies, her friends, and how she might visit soon. When the call ended, Marcus stayed still for a while, phone still in hand. He looked at Leah's photo again and finally let himself relax. Evelyn appeared at the door. Everything okay? He turned. Yeah, just called my daughter. How'd she take it? She told me she'd be proud no matter what job I had. Evelyn nodded slowly. She sounds like you. Marcus smiled. She's smarter. Evelyn walked farther in. You know, HR's asking about your official title. I said we'll finalize it next week. You fine with that? Fine by me, he said. Titles don't change what I do. Maybe not, she said, but they change how people see you. Then maybe that's what needs to change. Evelyn leaned against the doorframe. You think people really will? Some will, Marcus said. The rest will need proof. You planning to give it to them? Already am. Evelyn smiled faintly. I don't doubt that. She left him to his quiet again. Marcus turned off the office lights, picked up his jacket, and looked once more at the photo on his desk. For the first time in years, he didn't feel like he was pretending. 3 weeks passed. The merger settled. The panic was gone. The office felt different, quieter, more focused. People stopped whispering about layoffs and started talking about expansion again. Marcus adjusted to his new life faster than anyone expected. His days were full. Calls with foreign partners, translation briefs, training sessions with the sales teams on cultural awareness. He still arrived early, still left late, but now he parked in a reserved executive space instead of the garage's lowest level. Evelyn noticed the change in the building, too. People started standing straighter when Marcus walked by. Even the same managers who ignored him months ago now came to him for advice. He never acted superior. He just answered questions, gave short instructions, and moved on. One morning, Evelyn joined him in the cafeteria line for coffee. You become popular, she said. He looked up from his cup. I become useful. There's a difference. She smiled a little. Either way, people finally see you. They see the position, he said. Not me. Evelyn shrugged. That's how it starts. It'll take time. Marcus nodded. Maybe. They walked together to the elevator. It was quiet for a moment. Evelyn said, You know, I've been thinking about what you said, about how companies overlook people. Hard to forget once you've seen it up close, he said. I want to build something around it, she said. A program. Find hidden talent inside the company. People who got stuck in the wrong jobs. Marcus looked at her. You're serious? Completely. I don't want another Marcus Lee driving a car when he should be running meetings. He considered that for a moment. Then let's design it right. Not as charity, as policy. Evelyn nodded. Agreed. They reached the top floor. Marcus said, we'll need a name. Evelyn thought for a second. Hidden Talent Initiative? Too long. Marcus said, just call it the Shift. She smiled. Simple. I like it. 2 days later, they held a staff meeting to announce it. The auditorium was packed. Marcus stood off to the side while Evelyn spoke. 3 weeks ago, this company was close to collapse, she said. Today, we're stronger than ever. That happened because we stopped assuming who mattered and who didn't. She paused, then gestured toward Marcus. From now on, we'll start looking at what people can do, not just what their titles say. That's the purpose of our new program, the Shift. A murmur went through the crowd. Evelyn continued. If you have skills beyond your current role, languages, training, education, experience, submit your profile. No bias, no gatekeeping. We'll evaluate everyone. She stepped aside. Marcus will oversee the review process. He walked up to the mic. This isn't about promotions, he said. It's about recognition. I spent 3 years in the front seat of a car while everyone assumed they already knew my story. Don't let that happen to someone else. He looked around the room. Talent doesn't hide. People just stop looking. The applause that followed wasn't loud or dramatic. It was steady, like agreement spreading one person at a time. The next week, applications started pouring in, from accountants who spoke 5 languages, janitors with engineering degrees, receptionists with MBAs. Marcus set up a small review team. He read every single submission. Evelyn sometimes joined him late at night, scanning the files. You seeing what I'm seeing? She asked once. Yeah, Marcus said. A whole lot of people doing the wrong jobs. They built a system. Interview them, test their skills, match them to open positions. Within a month, the first promotions were announced. A male clerk reassigned to data analytics, a night guard transferred to logistics coordination, a receptionist placed in legal research. The company started getting attention. Business magazines called it a quiet revolution. Other firms reached out for advice. One afternoon, Evelyn walked into Marcus's office holding a printed email. You got a message from a CEO in Singapore. Wants to talk about adopting the Shift for their own company. Marcus leaned back. That's quick. He says he heard about what you did during the merger. Calls it the Marcus model. Marcus frowned. That name's not sticking. Evelyn laughed. Too late. It's already trending on LinkedIn. He sighed. Great. She grinned. You'll live. He looked at her, serious again. It's not about me. This can't turn into another PR stunt. It won't, she said. But stories change people's minds. Yours did that. He didn't reply. Evelyn said quietly, You changed mine. Marcus met her eyes. Then let's make sure that means something. By the end of the quarter, productivity was up 30%. Employee turnover dropped to almost 0. Evelyn sent a short company-wide email. The Shift is working. Keep your eyes open. Talent is everywhere. Marcus read it on his phone late at night and smiled faintly. For the first time in a long time, he felt like he was where he belonged. Not behind glass, not behind the wheel, but steering something that finally moved in the right direction. It was 6 months after the merger. Hartman Innovations was no longer the struggling company that almost went bankrupt. New offices were opening in Singapore and Berlin. The press had stopped calling it a comeback story and started calling it a case study. Evelyn sat in her office, reading an email from the Department of Commerce. They wanted her and Marcus to speak at the Global Business Forum in Washington. Topic: Recognizing Hidden Talent in Modern Corporations. She called Marcus immediately. You free in October? He answered from his office. Depends who's asking. The U.S. government. He paused. That's new. They want us to talk about the Shift. Of course they do, he said. Everyone suddenly cares about people they ignored for years. Evelyn smiled. You should be proud. You started it. I started nothing, Marcus said. You gave it a name and let it breathe. Still, she said, they're asking for both of us. He sighed. All right, book it. October came fast. The forum was held at a convention center packed with executives, diplomats, and reporters. It felt strange for Marcus to be back in D.C. after everything that happened. He hadn't been on that side of the stage in years. Backstage, Evelyn handed him a badge with his title, Marcus Lee, Executive Vice President, Global Relations, Hartman Innovations. He looked at it. That's a long way from driver. Evelyn smiled. You earned every word. They walked on stage to polite applause. The moderator introduced them, summarizing the story. The driver who saved the company, the CEO who learned to listen, the initiative that changed hiring policies across industries. Marcus didn't like the spotlight, but he stood straight, hands folded, waiting for the first question. The moderator looked at him. Mr. Lee, 6 months ago you were driving a car. Now you run global operations. How does that happen? Marcus answered evenly. It happens when someone decides to listen instead of assume. I had the skills the company needed. They just didn't know I was there. The moderator nodded. And Ms. Hartman, how did you not know? Evelyn didn't flinch. Because I was too focused on what people looked like on paper. Marcus made me realize how blind that was. A few people in the audience wrote that down. The moderator turned back to Marcus. You started something that's now being copied in 37 companies. Did you expect that? No, he said, but I'm glad it's happening. Every week, I get messages from people saying their bosses found out they had degrees, languages, or experience that were never used. That means the system's changing. Do you think this change will last? The moderator asked. Marcus shrugged slightly. That depends. If it becomes a trend, it'll fade. If it becomes policy, it'll stick. That's up to the people in this room. The crowd applauded. It wasn't dramatic, just steady. After the panel ended, people lined up to shake their hands. Executives from different countries, government officials, nonprofit directors, all saying the same thing. Your story changed how we hire. Marcus took it politely, but didn't linger on it. When the room cleared, Evelyn said quietly, You handled that well. He smirked. I've done press briefings for heads of state. This was easy. They stepped outside together. The Washington air was cool, clear. Evelyn said, You ever think about going back? The State Department, I mean. Marcus shook his head. No, I'm done chasing titles. She looked at him. You've still got more impact now than most of them ever will. Maybe, he said, but I'd rather keep building things that matter. Evelyn nodded. Then let's keep building. That night, they flew back to New York. When they landed, Marcus checked his phone. Dozens of new emails, job offers, interviews, partnerships. He ignored most of them. One caught his eye, though. It was from a woman named Karen Ruiz, a single mother from Detroit. Subject line, My son's story. Marcus opened it. She wrote that her son, Marcus Jr., had graduated from MIT but couldn't find work. He'd been working nights at a gas station. She said she'd seen Marcus's interview online and cried because it gave her hope. Marcus read the email twice, then forwarded it to Evelyn with one line. Find him. We can hire him. Within a week, the young man was working in their Berlin office as a junior AI engineer. A month later, Evelyn stopped by Marcus's office. He was reading another stack of resumes. She knocked on the door. You never stop, do you? He looked up. There's always someone worth seeing. She smiled. I think that's why this whole thing works. He leaned back. It works because people finally learned how to look. They sat quietly for a moment. Outside, the city lights flickered on across the skyline. Evelyn said, You realize what you've done, right? You turned a company into a movement. Marcus looked at her. No, we just reminded people what common sense looks like. She smiled faintly. Either way, I'm glad you got in that car 3 years ago. So am I, he said. Late that night, Marcus packed up and turned off his office light. Before leaving, he glanced at the photo on his desk. Leah, in her white coat from med school, smiling, confident. He looked out the window one last time before heading home. The reflection staring back wasn't the driver anymore. It was the man who rebuilt his life without asking permission. And for him, that was enough.